Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Ignite webinar. We're going to give everyone just a minute or two to get into the chat pod or into the webinar pod and get started. So just give us 1 or 2 more minutes and we'll get started. Okay, so it's 6:03. We're going to go ahead and start. I just want to say a quick thank you to everyone that is joining and to our presenters for sharing your time with us. I know that time on a weeknight is very valuable, and so thank you for being here. Thank you to all of the presenters, to the organizers, and to the staff that are participating tonight. Happy International Women's Day. I know that we celebrate 365 days a year, but this is a special day, and so happy day to you. This is the Ignite webinar, Running to Win, Getting Elected to a Student Leadership Position. And tonight we have experts in the house who are going to share what it has been like for them to run a campaign on campus and get elected. They are Ignite rock stars. I just want to tell you that. And so you're very fortunate, as am I, to have them here. And they're going to share a lot. And I guarantee you'll leave knowing how to run a successful campaign. We will be taking Q&A throughout the entire webinar. You can post your questions in the chat pod here in it's the pane to the right of your screen. You should see that. And at the end of the webinar, we will get those questions answered. And I already see some people chatting in the chat box, which is awesome. Share with us where you're from and how you participated with Ignite in the past. That's always fun. So let's jump right into our panelists and moderators. I will go first. My name is Whitney Thomas, and I see a lot of new folks that I don't actually know in the room. So hello and nice to meet you all. I am the Alumni Network Manager for Ignite and co-coordinator for the webinar tonight. And Lizzie Robbins is on with us tonight. Hi, Lizzie.
Hi, everybody. I am the Texas State Program Manager. It's great to be with y'all. Thank you for joining us on International Women's Day.
Yeah. And without further ado, I want to get right into letting our co-host introduce themselves. That could take up the entire hour talking about all the great things they do. But Gio and Cecilia, thank you so much for joining us. And let's get started.
Perfect. Well, I want to begin in saying thank you so much for inviting me. I'm really excited to be able to share my experience with other women who are interested in running for office on campus. I never thought I would say this, but it had been, my time as president was probably the most incredible and character building experience I ever went through. This is my first webinar, so I'll do an introduction. My name is Giovanni Ordonez, but I go by Gio, and I am the San Antonio Fellow here. So I spent a lot of time visiting with new young women around San Antonio who want to start chapters here in our great city. So I'm going to dive a little bit into my short story in how I became only the fifth female to run for office at St. Mary's University. Originally, I had no plans on running for president. I was actually going to let my counterpart, a young man I used to work with, run for president, and I thought, well, I'll be his vice president. And the night before the application was due, my very close mentor and the advisor of the student government pulled me aside and she said, "Hey, so am I going to see your application in for president?" And I was like, No, I wasn't planning on it. And she proceeded to tell me that it was something that I needed to do. There was no one better qualified, and that I was the one who knew the most about the student government. Um, and with that encouragement, I spent all the rest of the night getting 100 signatures and preparing my application, and eventually applying for the position as president and winning. Um, my favorite part of serving as president was being able to have a direct impact in the way that we change things on campus. So, many students would come to me with a lot of issues and issues that I wanted to address as well. And being president, I was able to really interactively keep our administration on check and be able to make the changes that students were wanting, that would make a positive impact on our community. So having that direct way of taking student concerns, student worries, and being able to make a change, and keep administration accountable. So that was my favorite part of serving as president.
Hello, all. Thank you so much for having me as a co-host, and thank you to Gio for sharing your story. I am a intern for Ignite National here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, and I am currently working to establish our Ignite at UTA chapter. I serve as a College of Liberal Arts Senator at UTA. This is my first semester. So I actually ran for this position and lost. I lost by 14 points, but one of the other senators backed out from his commitment because he graduated early, so they had a vacancy, and I was able to fill that vacancy. Um, right now, my favorite part of having been a part of the UTA student government is that I currently receive or recently received the Senator Spotlight for the month of January. It is a award that they present to each senate to one senator from every committee that we have. So I currently serve on the Student Affairs Committee, and our chair chose me as the recipient for the Spotlight Award because he said that one thing that he really saw about me is that I had all of the characteristics that a student government member should have, and that I wasn't afraid to question the senior senators, even though I was a junior senator, and that I wasn't afraid to bring them back on topic and to question whether or not they were doing the right thing. Um, and he said that that was a quality that senators should have despite any experience. And it made me feel very proud because I thought that I fit in. This is something that not only did I want to do, but that I am doing well. While a senator, I have sponsored two resolutions, which both have been focused on increasing the training that students would go through coming into UTA, mostly for like suicide prevention and crisis prevention. And I've authored two resolutions focused on increasing the overall care that students at UTA received. Um, one of them that I'm very proud of is I Am Woman, Give Me Options, which asks that UTA regularly fill the feminine hygiene products in all of our restrooms.
So at this time, we'll kind of dive more into the importance of fine tuning your why. And so for me, number one, I think it's very important for someone who's considering running for office on campus to understand their motivations and the values that they hold. And I say that because the first question you're going to get when people are asked, when you're telling people, oh, I'm running for this position, is, um, okay, why are you running for the position? So that's the most important question you'll have. And for me, what was very important was taking time to myself, journaling, and really understanding what was my motivation to run for president. And for me, it was that I saw a lack of organization within the student government, and I knew that I would be able to bring the structure that it needed to then be able to address the issues students had. So, in understanding my motivations and my values, I was able to then tell people, tell students, tell classmates that I was speaking to, these are the reasons why I'm running. And, it went a lot better that way than to just randomly say something. It took a lot of me having to understand myself and my own motivations. The next point in fine tuning your why is consulting a mentor. And for me, this is very important for someone to do when they're considering or at the beginning of running for office, because your mentors, people who you look up to and who have invested in you, they tend to see things that you might not in yourself. So for me, my mentor was, um, she was my advisor within the student government when I was just a senator. And Jenny, she did a lot in showing me reasons why I was a great leader. Sometimes I know I can say personally, I'm really hard on myself. And so I didn't see myself as a leader at some points, or I thought, well, I didn't complete this way, so I wouldn't be good for president. But as my mentor and through conversations that we had, she made me aware of the qualities that I had that I didn't necessarily see. So for me, it's very important for you to also consult a mentor because again, they might see things in you that you might not see in yourself. But it's just great to hear from another person some um, reassurance that the decision you've made in running for office is the right decision.
The next one would be, listen to your peers. You might not think that you have enough time to listen to everyone and what their feelings are, but you'd be surprised to realize how much you take in before and after class. So what I mean by this is, listen to the things that they care about, to the things that they are worried about, to the problems that they're having at UTA, and relate them back to yourself, which for me and a few other students in my classes, it had to do with the fact that we never had feminine hygiene products in our restrooms. And a lot of the restrooms didn't even have machines or dispensers in them. So that was one issue that I listened to those around me, they also cared about, and it became the last bullet point for me. The one issue that I was very passionate about, and is the reason why I decided to run for student government in the first place. Um, it was the one thing that I always told people when they asked me, why are you running? And I'd say, did you realize that not all of the restrooms here at UTA have dispensers for feminine hygiene products? Um, and they'd be like, no, I didn't, or yes, I did realize that. And I would listen to them and realize that that was something that we all cared about. And it just became the one thing that I wanted to get done. That's also why I'm very proud to have recently introduced that resolution. So just listen to your peers for what they care about and find that one issue that you have in common for something that you really care about and you want to change in your university. So the first one would be, for rallying your support, identify your support groups and circle of influence. For me, that was mostly the friends that I had made in class and my roommates. My roommates have a lot of time on their hands and actually became the people who would table for me when I couldn't. And so I found out that I have some really great mentor or roommates who are willing to stand outside all day in the sun and just talk to people about me. Um, it was really great because they'd come back to me and tell me, I didn't realize so many people cared about this one issue. And it also helped them, better get involved with the people at UTA and get to know all of their peers and stuff. Um, the next thing would be research different student groups on campus. So what I did was I went to the student organization database that we have and went through every single one that I felt like would also care about this reason, which was a lot of, the reproductive rights, the university health centers, and I just spoke at the beginning of all of those organizations for a little bit and was like, I'm running, this is why. Please vote for me. Um, the next one would be show up at your forums and events. So I started listening into the student government sessions that we have because we have them online. And then I started attending them, and I was listening to the way student government happens, the way any student can introduce a resolution, and how it goes from there. So the process of it being implemented. And that was some great experience because I was also able to talk to a lot of the senators afterwards and ask, why did you run? Why do you like being here? And how can you fix problems that you feel UTA has yet to solve?
So next point is to ask for endorsements. And for me, this was probably one of the most difficult things to do just because I saw it a lot like fundraising, like asking people for money is kind of difficult. So for me, asking endorsements was tough because I was afraid, oh, what if they say no? Or so my best advice is you're gonna need endorsements because when you get a student organization to commit to voting for you, that's a large amount of students that are going to keep each other accountable in wanting to run and wanting to vote on campus for you. So that's extremely important to ask for endorsements, not only from student groups that you have friends in, but also challenge yourself in identifying student groups who may have the same motivations as you do. Um, and, like Cecilia was saying, show up to, do your research on student organizations, student groups, and actually attend their meetings. And at that point, do ask for their endorsements. And if you get you're most likely going to get a yes or a maybe. But if you do get, some no's, know that not to take it personal. Um, and for me, learning not to take it personal if someone said no to endorsing me, um, that helped in just clearing my head and saying, okay, I'm moving on. Who else can I ask to endorse me or to support my campaign? So with all that said, don't be for endorsements. Just do it and get that support that you need to be elected into office. And then finally, consult with student publications. So if you know that you have a school newspaper or a blog, um, definitely ask them if you can take some time to speak with them and perhaps run a small article about yourself in the newspaper or in a blog. That is, again, really important because you're reaching all types of avenues, all types of ways in which students get their information. If you can not only do social media, but also do newspaper, magazines, or blogs that the school has, that means your name is out there a lot more, and we all know that. name recognition is very important. If you can get your name out there a bit more, people will tend to remember you and be able to put a name to the face and put a name and a face to the ballot when they are voting.
So the next topic is leveraging your social media. So we all know that everyone is always on their phones and social media sites. So the two most helpful things for me were creating a Facebook page, which I actually invited everyone to. And I only had about 10 friends at UTA who were also friends on Facebook. But just having, your friends and family say that they were attending was like garnering some support. And it was just kind of like making you feel good too, because you were scared that no one was going to attend your Facebook event or like your page, and they did. The next thing would be create Snapchat filters to use on certain days or Facebook frames for students to use. So I actually created about 5 different Snapchat filters and had them go off during certain times of the day at different buildings that I was allowed to campaign in, which was mostly our university center. And you can try to do them to where they'll go off for free. But then there were some that I had to actually pay for because they explicitly asked to vote for me. um, but overall, those helped a lot. It really got my name out there. There was a lot of students who did use them because Snapchat is a big part of everyone's everyday activities.
Chio, we can't hear you.
Sorry, I forgot. I forgot to unmute myself. So as I was saying, committing to posting regularly is very important because, like I mentioned, having the name recognition when people see your name on the ballot is very important, right? And if they've seen you being very committed on your social media, then that translates into the job position. And I had a lot of people tell me that they would say, "Oh, I saw how dedicated you were on informing us of different things on your page or in person or Snapchatting us that I thought, this person is pretty dedicated to the position." Um, Something that I learned from Sarah, who is our programs director, is that what makes posting regularly easier is if you type up in like ahead of time, type up posts that you'll be using throughout the week. And so I've done that now, in that if I need to post about an event on a Thursday, I will go ahead and type up all of that information on the event that's on a Thursday on a Sunday night when I'm free. And so I can literally just go copy and paste whatever I typed into my post and hit send quickly. So it's been very efficient, and I think it'll make it a lot easier for you all, especially, you know, while you're campaigning, you're going to school, you have all types of homework going on. So whatever can make it most efficient, and I've seen that helping definitely creating the posts ahead of time. And then finally, use all of the social media platforms. If you don't feel comfortable with one or another, get yourself comfortable, because you know through each social media platform you're going to be able to target different populations. Um, if you, I mean, and what I mean by that is like some people may use Snapchat a little more than Facebook. Well, if you're able to use and translate all of that information through all social media platforms, you're very clear and concise and able to get your message out there and rally that support, and again get that name recognition for when people are voting on their ballot. And so with all this said, best campaign best practices. The first one I would say that we have here is to inform yourself and feel free to dip your toes in the water. So, like we've been saying, when you inform yourself of what students on campus feel is very important. So, in speaking with students, in knowing what's affecting them, you're able to carry your message through. But if you're elected into office, you already have working points to basically focus on when you're in office. So, like Cecilia was doing, she was letting students know that it was very important for feminine hygiene products to be placed in the restrooms, right? And so, in having that understanding and knowing that that was something that affected students, it made it a lot easier to go into office and start some action. Along with that, do your research. So again, know the student groups you need to be visiting, know the places where students are around most. At St. Mary's is the student lounge in our student center. So I was in the student center like constantly bugging people about voting for me for office. So know the places that students are going to be at the most and make yourself a presence there. And then finally, be a presence on campus. Be visual to students and be an advocate and a leader. So to me, this is probably the most important point. Um, Not because people will recognize you and again the name recognition on the ballot, but when you're out there and you're asking students what issues they have or what they would like to improve on campus, you start to get an understanding of the importance of your role. And you also get an understanding of goals that you want to have throughout the semester. So for me, this was somewhat difficult because I'm kind of a shy person. And I challenged myself to go into the library on a Saturday morning, and I went to students that I had never met, and I would, tell them, ask them simply, like, what would you like to see different on campus? And then proceed to tell them, I'm running for office, but I want you to know that, the concerns you have, I hear, and I would literally like take a notepad and write things down and also get their contact information so that I knew, this person wants more recycle bins in the dorms. And when the time comes for us to work on this type of issue, I want to have their name so that we can work alongside them and be able to bring up their vision. So this helped me a lot, and again, I was able to really put a face to the issues that I wanted to address on campus.
The next one would be utilize your social media. After election time, when I was going through and looking at the results, I had just about the same amount of votes as I did people who used my Snapchat filters and of people who were liking my stuff on social media and attending my Facebook page or Facebook event. So I would definitely say that the social media is really what helped me a lot, especially since I was working a lot during school. So I wasn't really at school all day like some people will be, talking to a ton of people or a ton of students and asking them for the vote. Um, Actually, on the day of, people usually stand outside and will, bother people as they're walking in to vote. And I was not able to do that. So I feel like the social media is what got me all of the votes that I did receive. And it's what people made, or people went to the voting booth specifically to vote for me. And they even told me that afterwards. And after I lost, they say, I voted for you, but I only voted for you. I didn't even look at anything else. And it was because I really liked your Snapchat filter or I really liked your Instagram post. Um, so social media is key whenever it comes to talking to people and making sure that they know what you care about, because they also have busy lives and don't have time to sit down and speak to you or listen to you talk. The next one would be don't be afraid to run for multiple positions. I ran for UTA ambassador, which is another leadership position at my school, and student senator. And I lost in both, but I actually made a lot of new connections, and I was asked to be a part of a bunch of organizations, and my name really got out there. And this is actually another tactic that a lot of students here at UTA will use. We will run for multiple positions because people see the name multiple times, and so they'll vote for you multiple times because you're the only name they recognize, or because they think, wow, this person really wants it. So don't be afraid to run for multiple positions because you'll have to choose in the end if you miraculously win every single one, but most likely you won't, but it increases your likelihood of being able to be a part of the leadership on your campus and being able to represent your school in different ways and make an impact most of all.
Okay, great. So now we're going to move on to our Q&A. So if you have any more questions, you can go ahead and add them in the chat box. And I just wanted to, I'm sure y'all read it, but Jessica Rosario made the point that when you're using social media, it's so important if someone comments or tags you to reach out to thank them, to connect with them. So thank you for sharing that. Okay. So first question, how important were volunteers in your campaign?
They were very, very valuable for me in that there's only one me and there was candidates and I needed some help getting my name out there. So it was extremely important for me to have volunteers. And like it was mentioned earlier, my volunteers were my classmates, my best friend, and my roommates who were like, give us some flyers, we will be passing them out everywhere. So volunteers were incredibly valuable. And as you know, there's only one you, but there's a lot of students to campaign to. Um, so they were very valuable. I would say when you're thinking about getting, asking for volunteers, ask friends, ask student organizations you're a part of, um, and make hard asks, just so that you have more people out there who can be able to get your name out there and advocate for you.
Great. All right, next question. How do you curate content for social? What type of content is effective?
So for me, what I did was I was a recent transfer on campus, so I hadn't yet started following all of the different UTA accounts. And then one day I spent like 20 minutes searching UTA and following everything UTA related. And I was able to find out about different organizations, the events they were having, and then most importantly, the school paper, which is the UTA Shorthorn, and they're constantly talking about events, about concerns. Students will write about what they care about and things that are happening on campus that they're not okay with. And that's what I use to create my social media content. So I would post about an article that the Shorthorn wrote, or I would post about an event that an organization was having. A lot of the sororities will have different fundraising events. And so I would go and buy something and then post about having bought it and the fundraising that they were doing and the organization that they were going to be donating to. So that was something that I used, just being involved on campus and seeing what was being done. which was really hard because I was working full time. So I wasn't on campus most of the time, but through my social media accounts, it looked like I was because I would just stop by and take a picture of something and then post about it once I got to work. So just pay attention to the school newspaper. That was really helpful, and the different events, so bulletin boards that you see flyers about.
Great. That's an amazing, thing to put out there, Cecilia, that it's important to support others who are supporting you, show up to their events, donate. Wonderful. Okay. Next question. What type of challenges did you face or obstacles that you've had to overcome?
So I faced two main challenges. One of them was a bit more personal. That was that I really had to put myself out there. And me being kind of like a private, shy-ish person, I really had to challenge myself to be as transparent as possible with students and let them know again about my motivations and why I was running. Um, so being very transparent, and sometimes that took me talking to new people, which was daunting, but I knew that I needed to do it if I really wanted the position, and if I knew that I would be the best candidate, the best person qualified for it, I was going to challenge myself and not lose the opportunity in sharing with a student who I didn't know the reasons why I was running and how I could support them. So that was the first challenge I faced, in that my shyness and like being a private person, I had to be vulnerable and put myself out there. And the main way I did that is through challenging myself to talk to new people. The second challenge I had was um, trying to stay positive when the candidate who was running against me would say negative things about me. And so that was difficult in that I tend to take things personal. I've grown from that. I don't take things as personal, but when I was running for office, I was taking it very personal and it would affect me. Um, but not to the point where it held me back. If anything, this person would say something negative about me. I wouldn't say anything back, but I would just say, here's the proof of the work that I've done through the years that I've served in the student government. And for me, that not only reassured other people, but that reassured myself, in that, and this person might say that I'm unorganized, but look at how organized you are, Gio. Like, you've got this. Don't listen to that person. So those were the two challenges that I faced, and unfortunately, the both are you might face in your campaign, but just know not to take things personal, and to surround yourself by positive people who can reassure you along with you reassuring yourself.
Gio, you make such a great point. So many people think that politics is only for extroverts and people who are super outgoing, but it's not. It's for people who want to advocate for others. But that shyness was tough to overcome. And Megan asks, what advice do you have for someone who is shy to effectively put themselves out there?
The way, I say kind of think about what you're comfortable in doing. And so for me, I was not comfortable in approaching new people. So the way I overcame that is I brought a friend along with me. So, the mornings that I would spend walking through the library, I always had a good friend of mine there with me, just as literally as a physical support system, in that I could look at them and be like, okay, this person believes in me, so I need to continue in telling this person why I'm running for office, or asking this person ways in which we can change campus. So that would be my best advice, is if you're shy and you want to put yourself out there and feel comfortable, want to let people know who you are, bring someone along with you who can be there as a physical support system, who can reassure you that what you're doing is perfectly fine and that you are the best candidate. So yeah, that's what really helped me, is always having that one friend with me, when I was either speaking in front of a lot of students or just walking around, talking about why I was running for office.
Great. Thank you both for your answers. So if there's no more questions,
If I
that
could
concludes the
just
Q&A.
quickly.
Please, yes.
Okay, one of the things that I wanted to say on like challenges and obstacles that I had to overcome was that I was working full time, so I wasn't really able to do a lot of the things that other students were doing. So they were tabling and putting up flyers. I put up my flyers like a day and a half very late and after everyone else had. Because I was working the entire time that school was happening and when school was busy. And so my classes were in the evenings, and I'd get there around 5:30 and everyone's gone. No one's going to be at campus at 5:30 because that's when they're working or they're doing their chapter meetings or their school, etc. But I was able to, find creative ways to get my name out there, different ways to go the time for it. And after I told my bosses that I was running for a senator position, they were actually really flexible with me. And so I was able to take off some time and leave class early, or I would take a long lunch and sit in our university center when my Snapchat filters were going, and I would interact with everyone as they were taking pictures. And I would, do most of my stuff then. And you'll be surprised by how much you can get done in such little time, especially when you feel like, your heart racing so fast because you have to get to work in 10 minutes. You'll be surprised with how many people that you are able to meet with, and how many people will make the effort to come and speak to you, because they want to know more about why you're running. And so there was moments where I kind of did like walk and talk, and as I was scurrying away to my car, I'd always have people, scurrying away with me and talking to me about why they were supporting me, about what they hoped that I would do. And then I would go and, like, touch base with them another day when I wasn't running to my car. But that was definitely an obstacle that I had to overcome because I couldn't just quit working. I needed to be able to pay for my classes. And you'll be surprised with how many people will support you, knowing that you have this other commitment. And some people will ask, well, how are you going to have time for student government? How are you going to make time to listen to us? And that's when you really have to evaluate things. And I now work part-time, and I'm able to attend so many more things. And I still talk to the people who voted for me, and we discuss their concerns. And I think it helped that kind of introduce that resolution as soon as I came into UTA student government, because they were like, okay, that's done. Now let's talk about the next issue. So make your time, be aware of the fact that you have a limited amount of hours during the day, but don't be afraid to still go for something, and then worry about clearing your schedule the following semester once you're ready to serve.
Great. Thank you so much for your responses.
So now we're going to transition to our call to action. At Ignite, as you know, we're very action oriented, and so we have a few things that we're going to encourage you to do.
So number one, declare your ambition to run. and that is by telling a friend, a family member, or a colleague. For me, that was telling my mom, calling her up and saying, "Hey, I'm running for office." Right after, my mentor had said, like, "You really need to run for office." So again, find that friend, that family member, or your colleague that you can share this decision you've made with.
The next one would be identify a race on your campus and do your research. So there are many info sessions that your university will have to let you know that campus elections will be opening soon, and they'll tell you the filing deadlines, the time commitment that the position will take, different ways to run a campaign, and you'd be surprised with how much they're giving you. They want you to take up these leadership positions. They want you to be a part of these organizations like student government or an ambassador program at their school. And all of them will work with you. Don't be afraid to reach out to the current student body president and ask, what were some challenges you had while running here on campus? Or reach out to a senator and say, how do you feel was the most effective way that you were able to sit in the seat that you're currently sitting in? And do your research, don't depend on people to give you all of the information, even though those tools are out there. Step up to the plate and go to those meetings, go and talk to them, initiate the conversation, and let them know you're interested because they want you to be interested and they'll be more than excited to talk to you about the different positions that you're interested in. So, take charge and know what's going on campus and when those filing deadlines are.
And last but not least, we want you to enroll in the Ignite Alumni Network. And good news, you're an alumni, and we are personally inviting you to join us. The Ignite Alumni Network is a program that is here to support the needs of our program participants and help them take the next step in their political journey. Which today we're talking about running for office on your campus. And so we're here to support you to provide trainings on how to run for office, like what you're doing today. And then to just create community. So I heard a lot of talk around support systems, and we're here to be the support system to you. We want to encourage you to get out there and do the best and be the leader that you're able to be. So there's a banner up top of your screen. There's a pink button that says click here to join, and that form takes less than like a minute to fill out. And so once you complete that, you are a full-fledged member of the Alumni Network, and we will be reaching out to follow up with you. We also have a Facebook group that is pretty robust and active. You can just search Ignite Alumni Group, and we're there. Click to join, and we will get you approved. And finally, just another big thank you to you all for co-hosting this panel. It was fantastic. I learned so much. You are great and wonderful leaders. And so just thank you for sharing your evening with us. And thank you to all of the participants that joined us tonight. I hope you leave here motivated and ready to run. And then finally, thank you to the staff that have joined us. Sarah Guillermo is on. She's our Chief Programs Officer. Lizzie Robbins, of course, down in Houston. And I even see Eileen in California. So shout out. All of our contact information is here. And please, please reach out to us if you have any questions. Cecilia and Gio, I know, would love to talk to you offline about running for office. And Lizzie and I are here to talk to you about running for office or anything related to Ignite. And certainly if you want to know more about the Alumni Network, I'm here. So thank you one more time, and catch us on our next webinar. We have one coming up on March 22nd about how to get involved in the Alumni Network. So a more deep dive into things you can do. So thank you everyone, and I hope to see you on the next webinar.